could do it.
Second.
We'll just do it on my Facebook and we'll share it. Do you want it on Facebook? I'll share it to mine. Okay. So excited to get started here this morning. Like back to real. Just kidding. Oh my gosh. There goes my spoon. So excited to get started here. Okay, my gloves on. Welcome everyone. Moadin Simcha. It's the day after the Chag. It's still Chag, and it's still very much a holiday. It's also so. It's very, to me, it's very special that today, Shabbat, right after the Chag, is the one that we're going to be making the Challah together. It's a very important Shabbat to make the Challah and to make the special key Challah, the Shlissel Challah, and we're going to talk about that shortly. Right now, we're going to make our dough together. So I prepared the ingredients in front of me. The first thing we'll do, you also will need water, which I didn't write on the list because I figured everyone has water, especially in this pandemic, in these times. So I have the Zoom over here. Hi, everyone. I have Facebook here and Instagram there. So welcome, everyone, to Challah World. We have, I have here, there's some warm water. Ideally, use just regular room temperature water. Lukewarm is ideal because you want the yeast proof. So the way yeast works is that when you add it with the sugar and the water, it really helps to fester it and to create a warm environment where the yeast will really rise. So before we begin, I just wanted to make a mention about all the ingredients that we're using. There are 7 ingredients. We have the water, which corresponds to the spiritual health. So when we pour the water in, let's have in mind the spiritual health of all our loved ones, all our family, and truth, all the world right now that's truly struggling with our spiritual health, and we'll get to our physical health soon. We're going to add the sugar. When we add the sugar, actually we'll do that shortly. 1 tablespoon of sugar and 5 tablespoons of yeast. Make a mixture, and we're going to pour it into our water. So I've got over the 5 tablespoons of yeast, and when we add the yeast, let's have in mind that it's important for us to have a good sense of ego. Everyone tells us ego isn't good, and we should, bash ourselves down a little bit. Ego is very important. You need a good dose of ego in order to be successful, in order to be a good parent, in order to be a person to yourself and a meaningful person. So self-esteem, when we pour that in, let's have that in mind. 5 tablespoons of yeast and 4 cups of water. I have 2 in there right now. I'm going to add another 2. This is 2 cups. A regular 16-ounce bottle is 2 cups of water. We're going to pour the yeast and water and 1 tablespoon of sugar in together. And if you don't have another bowl, it's totally okay to use the main bowl we're using for your yeast and flour and everything. I'm going to leave this on the side for now. I'm going to start on our dry ingredients. The dry ingredients are our flour, our sugar, and our salt. So we're going to use the whole packet of flour. This is a 5-pound. You can always halve amounts and do half a bag and half all the ingredients. Sorry, Rosie, can you check the messages, see if anyone has any questions? I see some questions there. So we're putting in the 5 pounds of flour. I pre-measured, but it doesn't take so long. 1.5 cups of sugar. When we put the flour in, let's have in mind the physical health of all friends and family, that they should be well and strong and healthy. We should all the world should be healed healthy. We're going to pour in 1.5 cups of sugar. When we pour in the sugar, let's have in mind that it's important for us to have sweetness in our lives, to include sweetness in our language, to include sweetness for all our children. Zom, help me. Pour in. Yeah. And we're going to add in some salt. Don't salt is very important. Too salt is going to definitely ruin your recipe. Too little salt will also. Salt represents discipline. Discipline for ourselves, discipline for our families. Remember, when pouring that salt, to have in mind, disciplines are good in the right amount, in good doses. And now mix the ingredients together initially. I'm going to mix the flour, sugar, and salt together just initially, just let it all blend together. Rosie, what's the question? What did you mix? Who's asking? 4 cups of water. Want to type 4 cups? 4 cups of water for whoever asked the question. It's 4 cups of water. What we're going to do now is, here is my bowl. I'm going to try and show you the bowl. I'm going to make a little well in the middle, so I'm going to move my flour around, and I'm going to pour in my oil. 1.5 cups of oil. I poured it. 1.5 cups of oil into the middle. I'm going to actually crack my eggs in this now. When we pour the oil was always used for anointing in the time of the temple. So when we pour in the oil, let's have it among our families and friends that we want to anoint. And then we're going to add in 3 eggs. So I'm going to crack them to check that the kosher status. We're going to just check that there's no blood on the eggs. There's 1 egg. When we pour the egg, let's have in mind the women who are the binders of everything, of life. And as the eggs also represent that in a recipe, you need the eggs to bind everything together. So let's have that in mind when adding in the eggs. A little bit of a all over me. Yeah. Put that in. 2, and then 1 more egg. And once we have eggs inside, we are then going to put in our yeast. Here's how many pour it in. This lid can go on. Let's move everything out. And then we're going to add in. We're going to add in. We have eggs. It's great. We're going to add in our yeast mixture. Before you add it in, give it a little mix to make sure it all combined well. Sometimes there's, the leftover, mix in properly the powder, so we want to make sure the yeast mixed in. I want to try and show you how the yeast, you need to bubble this amount because it will bubble later, but yeast has a certain proof. When it proofs, there's sort of open bubbles in it, or it bubbles if it's longer. So we're going to pour it in. I don't know if you see it has small bubbles or openings in your recipe. And then we are going to mix everything together. This is going to be a hard one. I am definitely used to making challah with the machine where I literally put all my ingredients in, put the yeast separate, combine everything, and the machine does all the work for me. This, I'm going to be like a person today and mix everything. So what you want to do is sort of go around the bowl, bringing the flour to the wet ingredients. So the dry and the wet are becoming one dough. So now we're just going to mix it with our spoon. Eventually, once it becomes really strong and tough, we're going to have to mix it as a dough, which would be kneading it in order to give it great bounce and a really fluffy challah dough. So mixing it and kneading it really helps to facilitate a beautiful dough that we want to have. So keep mixing. Yeah, this is a lot. The full recipe. The full recipe also allows me to make the blessing, to make the bracha. If you don't have a need for this amount of challah, this is about 8 medium size, about 6 really large challah. First, you can make them into little rolls and freeze them. But if you wanted to make this regularly and have it in your family in your home every Shabbat, you could make this in half a recipe. We've done that before. A lot of times at our challah bakes we do that. The issue is that they can't make the actual blessing, but it's still beautiful to have challah in your home and to celebrate Shabbat in that awesome, special way. So mixing the challah dough together. At this stage, my dough is dry enough that I'm actually going to take my gloved hands and start mixing within so that all my dough is combined. I'm going to look at the questions now. The oil is 1.5 cups and the water is 4 cups. Anything else, Rosie? You want to write it on there?
Any special flour?
I actually, thank you for asking. So you could use any flour. It would work. I think this recipe was spelt flour, and it's very good. Exactly the same recipe with the spelt. I've also done this recipe with half whole wheat and half white. You know, trying to get healthier. Today I used actually a gluten flour, which sounds like this, which really helps create a very fluffy challah. So the more gluten, the more it sort of helps in the rind. So 1.5 cups of oil and 1.5 cups of sugar. Type it in so they can see that. And
Do you need water? I didn't hear. Did you add water?
I added water with my yeast. In order for the yeast to rise, you want to add water with. It's 4 cups. 4 cups of water. Room temperature or lukewarm is ideal, if you could. Okay, this is a workout for the month. We're gonna.
Question. I only have 3 tablespoons of yeast.
We try it and see what happens. I don't think it will make so much of a big difference because it doesn't add to the flavor. It really adds to the rising. So what I would suggest is, when you're rising it, leave it close to an area that's warm. Can you put those counters, please? And that will help. Okay, when we knead it, this is what dough currently looks like. It's really cut together, but you want it to be kneaded. In order for it to be kneaded, you need to get in there. And this is the hard part. Make sure you have your gloves on, and you really kneading. This is your punch. All the frustrations from the whole entire, 6 weeks? I've lost count. But all the frustrations you want to basically really, with love. Look at this. We are making challah dough, and the more we get, the better it will combine together. Right now I have little cracks, and that will stay there when it's not as much, but it will still be there. So I'm trying to create the most bouncy, fluffy challah dough I can possibly create.
Okay. Shevy, one question. You put in butter. Did the butter go in when you put the yeast and everything else in, the eggs?
Yeah. What I did was I had a separate bowl of water, yeast, and 1 tablespoon of sugar because ingredients really help the yeast to rise. You could, however, I put the yeast in and I put water in. I put everything else in except water. I just put my exact recipe. You need 4 cups of water. I didn't want to put my recipe with all the things online. I just wanted you to be prepared. So I figured you'd have water. What you can do and what I've seen done is put the water, yeast, sugar mixed together and straight away add your oil and eggs to that. And it actually then dry ingredients and it works. Okay, it's getting somewhere. Okay. I still have flour at the bottom that it didn't line as well. I'm going to try and combine in. I feel like I want to put it on the counter. It's so heavy. I'm not joking that this is a workout. It really is. And I'm not used to this. I normally put it into my machine. I don't have a machine here, but I normally put it into my machine and it does all the work for me. Today I'm going to toil. Okay. Okay, once you have everything in, and it's more like a dough, so far, we're getting there. We are getting there. Okay. I'm going to get some paper. I'm actually going to get printed on my counter. Okay. This is, I'm going to put down the sink there. Please. Okay. Now, we'll take the dough, because we have it really ready, and we are going to cover it to let it rise for a little. Many people spray their dough at the top and then cover it. Ideally, you want it in an environment that really helps it grow and rise effectively. So I generally just put a parchment paper, and then on top of that I put foil, sort of really tuck it in. And then cover it. And what you want is for your dough to sort of double in size. And that is because a lot of it is just the proof, the yeast that's making it rise. But it also gives it a really fluffy, it also presents for you a really fluffy challah. So you really want okay guys, I think my workout is done. Friday workout. Who knew? You could combine the physical and the spiritual. And that, friends, is exactly what the challah is all about. Combining the physical with the spiritual. We're taking physical bread, which is so mundane, it's so necessary for our existence, kind of, flour and water. And by us making this together, and then afterwards we're going to make the bracha and the special challah, we elevate the challah. And now it's no longer just bread, but it's now challah, which is something we're going to use for Shabbat. And that is inherent in every woman. It's our capacity, it's who we are in, that we are able to take things, even the situation we find ourselves in, and we're able to find the positive, the spiritual. We're able to really take physical things and elevate them. And then once we have the challah, we're going to put it on our tables for Shabbat, and we're going to light the candles. Again, elevating from our physical week to our spiritual oasis. And really at a time like this, when social media and the news, social media has actually been quite a blessing, but the news has been tremendous, and it really gets to a person. So having that switch off, that oasis time, the ability to really stop and reflect really helps us to elevate our lives within us, and not just only for the day of the Shabbat. So now that my dough, I'm done. Putting it back in, giving it one last knead, and then I want you to make sure that your dough also looks better than this, but something like this. Okay, so if you're having trouble or your dough is not yet looking like dough, keep mixing. Don't give up, because it will come eventually. Okay, now I'm going to cover it with my parchment paper. I just like to cover with parchment, not foil, touch the dough directly. And then I'm going to get oil. Oh yeah, I had a piece of paper printed. You see that? Okay, I'm going to leave it to rise. Trying to move it away. We're going to leave it to rise for a little bit, and I want to tell you about this special Shabbat, and then we'll have an opportunity to actually make the challah that's in a shape of a key that many people have the tradition to do for this. And we're going to talk now about this tradition. And a few more minutes. Is everyone okay there? If you have questions now, before I get started on the Shlissel Challah, ask now before we go on to the next step. So I'm gonna.
Good question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see me, but I'm not sure because I don't know if the video is coming. But my question to you is, with that amount, how many challahs does that make? Does that make more than one? Cut the recipe in half?
So we did speak this. This recipe is basically enough for 6 really large challahs, 8 medium, or you can make small ones. And you'll have about 12 small ones, or you can make mini ones. But you could cut the recipe in half. However, there's a certain amount of flour needed in order to make the bracha. But you could make half a recipe, and then just, not make the blessing. We're going to talk about the key now.
I said the first part of your live, so that's why I didn't hear that.
Oh, okay.
Because I was doing more with my daughter.
No problem. I feel for you. I wish you luck because that needs luck. Okay. Yes. I'm not going to leave it rise. I'm not going to leave it rising for so long right now because I want to keep my cool and tell everyone what happens next. But generally, I've left it for a couple of hours. It really depends on the environment. So the atmosphere in the summer, it might rise quicker. In the winter, it might be more dense, so it will take longer. So I'm actually going to put the fire on here, not put it on it, just to add some more so that it'll rise quicker. Sometimes when you want it to rise quicker, you can put a warm oven on very, very low, and that allows it to rise quicker. It's not great. You want it really to rise in the environment, but it could help for now, for us in this situation. So really it depends on what's going on. It could be 8 minutes. It could be a couple of hours. If you want your dough to rise to around double the amount that it is, you're also going to want to re-rise it once you braid them. So about 20-30 minutes minimum, I would say, generally.
And let me just start making it when we just
the challah I just made is, I'm going to type in. Do you want to type in? It will make 6 very large challah, or 8 medium, 8 to 9 medium, or 12 smaller ones. I generally will make 6, or I'll make 5, and then little rolls, so we have extra rolls around. We'll make 6 very large. 8. So the more you knead it, the more pliable the dough will be. And but once it starts looking like a dough, and it looks wholesome enough that you could let it rise, because remember, the rising itself makes the dough better. Your dough looks amazing. It looks perfect. It's perfect. It looks really good. Hi. It looks incredible. Yeah, your dough looks fine. Yeah. Okay, I actually have prepared my house key. There's another concept we're going to talk about shortly. I took my house key and I covered it in foil. And we're going to actually put it into the dough. We're going to bake it into our dough later. But remember, we have it and it's in foil, so it's not going to bake on the dough, but the dough. Okay? Okay, I'm going to get cleaned up and we're going to start the next part.
What is she doing in the house key?
We're going to talk about the house key shortly. Okay? We'll get to that. We're not going to braid it yet because our dough needs to rise right now. We're going to braid one of them into a key shape eventually, and the other you could just do your own style, and you could put your house in if you like. I'm going to talk about the customs of baking challah, the Shabbat after Pesach now. Okay, if you don't have a house key, you don't put it in. If you have a different key, you could put that in. There's different customs in this week, and we're going to talk about that now. So the first thing we should know, we're coming from a holiday that is embroiled in customs, and everything we do is because of tradition and customs, our family. You don't even know why some of them. We're like, why can't we eat that? Because our grandparents did that. Oh, okay, I understand. For us, specifically, I'm talking like for our holiday is we have a lot of extra contingencies that some of them don't seem to make sense, but they are tradition. And the Oved Yisrael talks about the minhag that is just as important as a mitzvah. And therefore, there are lots of things we do that are very important, as equally as important as doing things on mitzvot. So bearing that in mind, we know that this week is a special week. It's Shabbat right after Pesach, and Shabbat after Pesach, it is customary to bake challah and to have different customs. Growing up, we just took our house key and put it in foil and then baked it into a challah dough, like into one of the chalot. We put it on and it baked with it, and then when we cut that night, it was like, the foil the knife hit the foil, and it was very exciting. Subsequently, I have studied this a bit and learned that there's a whole following of people who actually make a challah into a shape of a key. So what is this whole business of a key that we focus so much on this specific Shabbat after Pesach? We're told that on Pesach, we're told how much rain there'll be for the coming year, meaning how much food and, things that help us survive. But Rosh Hashanah, it's decided how much each individual person will get. So remember, there's two components over here. There's Pesach, which is as a global, as a communal, as a world amount, how much grain, how much produce there'll be for that year. On Rosh Hashanah, it's very much individual. So how fitting is it that today we are all united in this special time, sharing this mitzvah together? In Shirim, we read on Pesach, it says, Hitzchali achoti ra'osi. Open for me, my sister, my beloved. If we are told that if we make a little opening for God, as big as the top of a needle, which is so minute, so tiny, God will be there to step in. So very often, things look very overwhelming and dooming to us, and God tells us, just give a little, and I will help facilitate, will help you. So today, when we take a key that unlocks different things, we're showing God that with this mitzvah of challah that we're doing, that will inevitably be to help us celebrate the mitzvah of Shabbat, we are making that opening. And in particular, this coming Shabbat is actually the Shabbat that we bless the new Jewish month of Iyar. And Iyar is the month where God really heals. That's what it stands for. Ani Hashem Refo'echa, I am God your healer. And especially in these times, we need lots of healing. Physically, spiritually, mentally, we need it. We turn to God on this Shabbat before the Jewish holiday of Iyar and ask God to heal us and to help us. And this is also the Shabbat. The month of Iyar is when the manna stopped coming. Remember, the Jews were in the desert during the time of Pesach. They ran out of Egypt, and they didn't have time for the challahs to run. They ran through the deserts and all those miracles that happened, and they celebrated all of that. And then they come, and God provides for them. The manna falls from heaven. They don't have to worry about food. They don't have to worry about anything. They literally have everything taken care of for them. And it's an endless time, but it's also a time where you really give over. You give over your sense of control, and you tell God, I know that you are taking care of everything, and in fact, I have to rely on you because you are providing for me. Every day you are sending down the exact amount of manna that I'm going to need. But come this month of Iyar, and the manna stopped. And one of the things is that now the Jews went into the land of Israel. They went into Israel. That was their dream, right? The only catch there, and it's a catch, it's just a transition. And some of us have hard time with transition adjustments. But God told the Jews, now you will be responsible to take care of your own needs. I will provide for you, but now we have to take what God provided for us and make something of it. Now we have to earn a livelihood. Now we are going and becoming self-sufficient. Obviously, with God's really taking care of us, but He's putting it into our hands to do our part. So this week, when we enter the Jewish month of Iyar and coming out of Pesach, time when we have to do the work to show God that we will do that little bit, that little key. We have the key. We have the key. We will do our little part, and God will meet us there and help us. I think especially now, I mean, there's so many people who are worrying about their jobs, who don't have a consistent job. Their job is on hold. They've been let go of their job. Livelihood is on everyone's minds. I think this is a week where we have to sort of project ourselves to God's guidance and dependence. We have to turn to God and say, I know you want us to feel like we are independent, but we also know that you are the one who gives, the one who takes. You're the one who provides for us. And Pesach, we eat the matzah. And one of the matzah is the matzah of Yirat Shamayim. It's the matzah of Emunah. And by us eating that matzah, we hope to really heal ourselves and give ourselves that boost of emunah. And coming from Pesach, where we have the bread of emunah, matzah, which is with Yirat Shamayim, if we don't take the emunah that we just had from our Pesach, then we're like a treasurer. You know the treasurer, he has all the keys in the castle. He has all the keys in the kingdom, even to the secret treasure, even to the innermost part of the treasure. But he's missing one key, the outer door. Gets a treasure box, he's missing. That is what it's like not having enough. It's like you have all the tools. God wants you to have tools. He wants you to go and create and make and be in this world, live in the physical world. But if we don't have the spiritual, if we don't have the enough, we're missing the key. We're missing the most important key. The key that will help us get into the innermost treasure box. And Challah, again, is the key for Parnassah, is the key for livelihood. And it says that God actually holds the keys to 3 things, meaning He does it Himself. He doesn't have the malachim. He doesn't have the angels help Him with these 3 things. 1, He holds the key to rain, which equals Parnassah, because the field that the Parnassah came still today, but that's basically how we eat, is the grains. Rain, Hashem holds the key to the rain. Hashem holds the key to childbirth and conception. And Hashem holds the key to Tchiat HaMesim, which is the resurrection of the dead. So God Himself doesn't have His angels do this work for Him. These 3 important tasks Hashem does Himself. So today, when we're making the challah and we take our key, or we make our dough into a shape of it, let us have in mind that we want blessings from God. More than anything, we want to enter a time when Mashiach will be here and we'll experience the resurrection of the dead, when our loved ones will come back. We want to be in a time where there will be no more sickness, where we won't have to worry. We could be together, for real, not just through a screen. A time when people don't have to have fears about having children and about giving birth. And will be blessed with all of that, all with having children and having health and healthy children and parnasa, which brings us back to this specific week, which is all about parnasa and livelihood. So we see a very strong correlation to livelihood and emunah. You know, my grandfather on my mother's side, he wrote to the businessman and he wrote to the Lubavitcher Rebbe saying about all his problems in his business at that time. And he was a successful businessman, but he was going through a difficult time. And he wrote this and that, and he wrote all his troubles. He had a very good relationship with the Rebbe, a very close, intimate relationship. So he just bared it all. He told the Rebbe about all his troubles and that he was having a very good time. And what's he meant to do? What should he do? And the Rebbe wrote back his letter, sent it back, and at the bottom he wrote in Hebrew, he wrote in English, more bitachon, more parnasa. The more we have our faith and our emunah in Hashem, the more Hashem takes care of us, because ultimately Hashem is the one who guides, and Hashem is the one who takes care of us. So when we don't have anything to do, and we say, what should I do? What should I do? I'm stuck. We're in such a crazy time. We're in a pandemic, and people are saying, I don't have my job and my business. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We think it's on us. We think we have to own it. We think we have to really take ownership of all those fears and all that worry and all that control. But do our part, and then we turn to Hashem and ask Him for His help. We open with that little hole. That's the amount, the little hole. And we ask Hashem to please help us, meet us. Things will feel better and things will be better for all of us. So today we all showed up to bake challah together on this momentous occasion of the Shabbat of Pesach. And we are showing up, telling God, listen, I have so many things. My daughter's ill, my friends are sick, but we are here today. And when we do make the bracha and the challah, some names in mind that people have. If you have others in mind, we're going to have an opportunity to announce those names, because there are people who are really, really sick, and we want to ask God for His help in healing them. And it says that people baking challah, women who bake challah, we have three specials. Let's backtrack. We have three special mitzvot. One is challah. When we bake the challah, it's an opportune time to tell God, I want to pray for everything I need and what my friends need and for what the world needs. And as an opportune time, right after you say the blessing, that is your time to ask for your blessings you need. The same is with the Shabbat candles later. Today's time in New York, I have to look it up actually, it's about 7:19, but I'll look it up shortly. Light candles before then. Make a blessing, cover your eyes, and then ask God, beg Him for an end for the suffering, for livelihood, for happiness, for shalom in the home, for everything that you need or want. And then women go to the mikvah, taharat hamishpacha. I think the laws of family purity is another time. After the woman is dipped in the mikvah and she says the blessing, again, she has the opportunity to ask God for all the things she needs to ask for. So today, let's have in mind that when we're going to bake the challah, have all this in mind. All these people that need a refuah, people who need help with shalom bayit, people who need shidduchim, parnasa. There's an opportunity. As soon as we've said the blessing together, we keep in mind to our blessing. Sorry? For the oil, I actually use olive oil. I used to use canola, but I no longer use it in my home. So I just use olive oil. I'll use any oil, like grapeseed oil would be a good switch. I'm sure some people use the refined coconut oil. I use oil, and I have done so for quite some time. It works. You can actually now set your oven to 350 temperature. What were those questions? I'm going to answer some questions now. I have my little help. Rose, do you want to answer some questions? She wants 2 or 3 challahs? Yeah? Then she should do, if you want less challahs, you have to do a recipe. Unless you want to make, bigger challah. My recipe, we wrote it up. If you scroll up, you'll see how many challahs it makes. I've done this recipe in a half for some of our bakes. Random key is okay. Ideally, you want to use your house key because of the essence of what it represents, but really, it's a key for anything. Your secret treasure box, your journal, your home. You want to because that represents where you live, but obviously, if your office is very important to you, you can bake it with that. If you have a randomly around and you want the blessings to facilitate through that, it's a symbol. It's not it's symbolic. I have the names here. If any other names that you have in mind, you can type them in, or we can say them shortly when we add the bracha. Set your oven for 350. Mine's already set. You can get a tray ready for when we're ready to make our challah. The first challah we're going to start with is going to be the key challah, because that's what we're here for. I'm going to get a knife. So a knife helps me divide my dough. You can also, if you're very professional, you get one of those dough knives. It's simple me. I have my key I'm going to put on the side. I have dough. Ideally, you'd want to wait for your dough a little longer. But because we're all here together and I want to get started, I'm going to use my dough now as is. The first thing I'm going to do, I will let my dough rise. As soon as I'm done braiding them, I'm going to leave them to rise for a little longer because it's not enough time that it is right now. So after it's braided, I'll let it fluff and poof and become a beautiful fluffy challah. Yeah. So really, you want to wait for your dough to rise a little bit longer. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? Yeah.
To rise, or can you leave it without the cover?
I use the cover because it helps to clean it. It helps in icing. You can
Paper in tinfoil.
the foil sort of keeps it down, and I don't like foil directly on my dough, so I just put the parchment paper first. You could use saran wrap. You could use a dish towel, like a clean dish towel. Some people spray their dough so it doesn't stick to anything, but I didn't leave it for long enough, and I don't use spray it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take my cover off. My dough is not ready as it should be right now, but I'm going to take a little piece of the challah dough. This already feels really good, even though it's not perfect. I'm going to take a little piece of the dough, and then we're going to cover our dough again because the thing. What? To get it crusty. You want to egg it after it's the second time. Okay, we have the piece of dough here, and we're going to make the blessing together. Cover the rest of your dough. Hold the dough in your right hand, and let us say the blessing together. There's so much power in saying the bracha together. This is the act that takes it from simple challah, from simple bread, from simple dough, and elevates it to challah. And that's what women are able to do. So now, we're turning to Hashem and we're saying, God, you gave me so many talents, so many gifts. I know that they are a gift from you, and I'm going to appreciate that today in making the blessing of the challah. Because just a farmer can turn around and say, look what a talented farmer I am. Look at the produce I grow. He knows it's not his work alone. There's a partnership. There's God. God gave us a lot of strengths. He gave us a lot of capabilities and talents. And by us taking the challah, it's a representation of a partnership between the mundane, between everyday, to our holy, to our spiritual. And it's telling us, I have all these gifts from you and I have all these talents, but they're not mine alone. I have to use them to elevate you, God. I have to use them to serve you and influence others. And each of us has the opportunity in our lives. And yes, things have changed now because of the time we're in. And there will be different types of skills and talents that we're going to find in ourselves. Maybe it's not something we want to continue onwards, but we have the ability to really help inspire and influence and affect others. Let us take the bread, the piece of bread will be as big as the size of a golf ball. It doesn't have to be too big. And afterwards, we'll talk about that in a moment. And we're going to take the dough and we're going to make the bracha together. Repeat after me. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzanu lahafrish challah v'harizu hachallah. This, the piece that is going to elevate our challah from just dough to spiritual challah. And now you could take a piece of oil. This is what I do. You could burn it if you like, but this piece is the piece that was given to the high priest in the times of the temple. In the times of the temple, the way they elevated their dough was they gave a certain amount to the priest, and that it was a partnership. It was a partnership, but it was a very clear partnership. It was a partnership where we were able to see this is me and this is for God. It was an amount that the priest would take, and that would we would give a certain amount to the priest. Nowadays, we no longer have the temple, but in order to keep this tradition going, and in order for us to elevate the dough, remember our purpose in making challah, that it's spiritual. It's not just something mundane and so physical. We are going to so that we can no longer eat it. So it has to be burned until it's, burned enough. It has to be baked until it's burnt enough. It's no longer edible. So what I do is I put it into my oven while I'm braiding everything. And when I'm braiding it, I take it out because it's not meant to be at the same time as your challah. And then you can when you've finished baking your challah, you could put your bread, your burnt offering, we're going to call it, back into the oven. Okay, so I'm going to put it into my oven. And now we have to have in mind our people for refuah. So please type your name now. So far we have Shebizachor refuah shlema Esther Yita Baspega Dina Yosef Yitzchak Ben L'refuah shlema ukrova, Yitzchak Leib Ben Sarah L'refuah shlema ukrova. Do you have any others? L'chol cholei Amo Yisrael, to all those who need a refuah, and for those who need bracha for parnasa, all of us, the whole world, and for those who need a blessing for shidim, and for those who need a blessing for children, please have them all in mind now. Okay. Someone asked about chocolate chips. So when I put toppings on my challah, I generally do it after I've braided everything already. But if you put it into your actual dough, then it'll be immersed in your dough. I like challah to sort of be a little separate. So what I would do is we're going to braid the challah together. We're going to let it rise afterwards because we want the challah to really take on a new essence. I want it fluffy, and then we're going to let it rise, and then we're going to egg it. After we've egged it, you top it with what you want. The other way to do it is to take each strand and roll it into the topping of the choice, and that way it's not in the dough, but it's sort of in your challah. That's another way. I sometimes do that with jalapeno. It tastes really good, and olives. So here's our dough. Sorry. Ben Sarah. Let's see. Hadassah Ben Sarah. Lirafordima. Okay, so here's my dough. Okay. What I first do is divide my dough into 3 equal parts because I know that my dough makes 6 big parts. So I'm going to want to divide my dough into 6 equal parts. If you want to make 12 pieces, you're going to divide the dough into 12 equal parts. If you want 8, then you'll do 2. So just having in mind a amount that you want. I'm going to divide mine into 3. I'm going to try and make it as equal as possible. Do you want to breathe? Wash your hands. Wash them. Put the gloves on them. Okay. I always have my challah helpers. So what I'm going to do is actually make a very big key challah. It's going to be basically 2 challahs that will be combined to make the key. You can do it in a smaller measurement. I'm making my challah dough into 6 equal parts. I don't know if you can see, but what you're going to do is use estimation. I actually have a scale at home. So over here, this one looks a drop bigger. I'm going to take a little bit off, add it to this one that looks a little smaller. Estimate. This one actually looks kind of thin. We're going to add here. There. Kind of average. Sometimes mom gets the scaler and weighs each piece of the challah, and that's super professional. Today I'm just going to use my estimation. Okay, Mendel, my helper, here, is going to braid. You want to do 6? Mendel's a professional 6 braider, which is kind of awesome. It took me a lot of years to learn how to do a 6 braider. So we're going to divide our dough into 6 parts. If you want to do a 3 braider or a 4, just divide the 1 challah that we had together, divide it into those equal parts. We're going to make a 6 braider. Rosie asked Alma if he wants to make the 3. Okay, so I took my challah here. I'm going to show it to you now. I challah, and I have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Mendel's already rolling the 6 piece. You want to stand there, Mendel? Wash your hands, right? No, put on the gloves and wash your hands first. I'll wash my hands. Okay. Forward. Salman, my other helper, is going to make a 3 braider. These 2 challahs that they're both creating are going to be the key challah. So you need 2 braided challahs in order for your challah to work. Key is when you're rolling your challah, you want to make sure that all the components are equal. So if you're making a 6 braider or if you're making a 5 braider, each strand should be equal-ish in size and amounts. So Mendel's going to make the 6 braider. That will be for the bottom key. Zalman's going to make the 3 braider. That's going to be for the top key. You could do regular braid for the top and a regular braid for the bottom, but that is how the key is made. And then we're going to do one more piece. It's not the best dough right now. It hasn't risen. We're going to wait for it to rise later. He's going to take these are your pieces to make your challah. And I'm going to make a braider so we can have all of them happening at the same time. In order to braid the strands effectively, it is ideal. And remember, when you're rolling it, you want to roll it closer to your, what's the other side of your knuckles, of your arm, but up here, right below the fingers is a really good part to sort of your hand to roll. And they need to pick up the strand, roll it like this, and then turn it over. Drop. Put it there, we'll get another piece here. Roll it. So you don't really want it to be more of a rolled strand, not a flat strand. It's a little flat almond. So when you roll it, it's probably harder with gloves, right? Yeah. You want to wash your hands and take the gloves off? Want to take the gloves off? Okay. You want to roll it where it's sort of a roll. The whole thing is roll. When you push down, it becomes more flat and long. You don't want it too long you want the strands should not be so long. They will lengthen as you braid them. So when you make them, spend extra time because it's not amazing yet. Spend time rolling it so that it doesn't. Yeah, that's perfect. This one was a little cracked. Just spend extra time if you don't mind. Okay, I'm going to make a 4 braid over here. So I'm rolling the strands. I have one hair. You don't want it too long and you don't want it flat. You want it rounded. So like you roll it like this, it makes it round, and make sure to turn it over and make it average and equal all the way up and down. That's perfect. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to make 4. I'm actually going to take my gloves off also.
That's the last piece.
That's your last piece. Okay, much easier by the way without the gloves. If you are wearing gloves, you may want to so then make sure your hands are washed. Okay, so 3 equal parts coming up. If you are doing a 3 braider, it's basically a braid that you would have made in a hair. It's okay. That's okay. It would basically be like when you braid your hair. So you would take the one from the outside, cross it over to the inside, take the other side, cross it over to the inside, take the other side, crossing it over to the inside. You're always taking from either side and crossing over. Right to the middle, left to the middle, right to the middle, to the middle, right until you have a braid. I'm going to do 4, just a little bit more polished without the major extra work. The first thing I'm going to do is actually try my dough a bit because it's not amazing. Great, so let's tuck in the end. Remaining version? Oh. Yeah, we can see what it says. Okay, Zalman does the 3 braider. We just at the end tucked in some of the edges and straightened out the braid a bit, tucked it under just to clean it up a bit. You want to make another? Okay, the dough hasn't risen enough. It needs more beating first. Let me try and do this first for you. And I didn't make it in the machine, so it needs a bit more help.
To line you on.
Was this student?
Share to start.
Yeah. It's not anymore. Okay, we'll restart to Instagram. Okay, you can make another. Meanwhile, I'm going to get the tray ready. You need a big tray to make the key challah because it's 2 challahs together. You also would need, if you have a bunt, if you have a disposable bunt pan at your disposal, then you could use that. There's a little trick I have in that. I don't have one, so I am going to take a glass, like a mason jar. You could take a lid or a cookie cutter and use that for the hole of the key hole. If you don't have any of them, you just, your key doesn't have to have a hole. It could be sort of a different shape at the top. Because ultimately, if you make a hole, once you bake the challah, that hole will close up unless they have something there to hold it in. So you could just, instead, you could make a different shape, like a twisted challah roll. Some people do 3 challah rolls that make it a shape of a key. Or you could take a cookie cutter or a mason jar, the lid of a mason Those will all work. Okay, then we're making our 6th braider here. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Okay, we'll leave the other ones for later because I want them to rise a bit more. These two, okay? We're going to leave all the colors to rise. Okay, here's the 4 braider. We have 4 strands. I'm going to open up the strands, pinch the top well together. So if you want to do chocolate chips or raisins, you could either, once we finish braiding, then we will egg top and you can put toppings on top. If you want to put it inside, you egg the strand, roll it into chocolate chips, and then you really have it in the dough. So it's not bad, just because of the dough, it's not as sticky, so it needs more help with it. Alright, so let's remake the actual strand, and then redo this, only because I did it for the bottom of the challah. So you can either put your chocolate chips then, or you can actually combine it into your dough. Like take your strand, I'll show you in a moment. You could take one of the strands and actually, put chocolate chips in the middle of it, blend it, combine it, and now you have chocolate chips in your actual dough. If you don't want it in your dough, but you want it stuck on the strand, then you can just roll the challah dough and then roll it into chocolate chips. Or if you don't want that extent of chocolate chips, you just want top, you add your challah and then you sprinkle chocolate chips on. That's generally what I've done. I think chocolate chip challah gets the most messy. It's it's like the sweet and savory. You could also do cinnamon and sugar. You could do pesto. We did babka challah recently. Maybe we'll do that on Zoom one week. That was really fun, and it was really the challah that we made into babka. And we did that with
the same with raisins. You put your raisins the same way. Raisins.
Yeah. No rule. 1 minute. Just remember, it's so sticky, so you need to put more effort into that. Okay. Go. So the whole braider we're going to talk about as soon as we have these two on roll. You're going to take the one right and put it over the next strand. Then you're going to take one from the left, so as if you did a regular braid, and cross it over as you would, and you just take the 4th one and follow it along. Follow the 3rd strand along. You're always just following it along. At the end, it gives it more of a fishtail look, fishtail braid look. So it's slightly different, a bit more compact. That's why someone might do the 4. So you're taking the strand on the right, as if you're doing a 3 braider, crossing it over to the one in the middle. Then you take the strand on the left, tossing that over the middle, and then you follow up with all 3. Wow, Zalman. Incredible. Made us our top of our key. It's a 3 braider challah. Amazing. Zalman's 8. You want to do more soon? Yeah. Okay. Depending on your oven, you'll need it'll be on 350. So around 30 to 40 minutes. But do 30 because if your oven's, you don't get too well done. You want to have where the top looks brown and the bottom is sort of a hollow feel. They're not dark brown, but light brown. That will be more with light texture, doughy, without it being doughy. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Yeah, so what we're going to do is, let me just finish this braiding and then we're going to talk about egging. Okay, so our 4 braider following the 3 braider round, and it basically is I'm going to leave this dough a little longer later because I don't feel like it was left long enough because we wanted to show it. So these ones I'm going to put back and make. So this is a 4. It's kind of similar, but this is a 3 and this is the 4. This is 3. This is 4. So the 4 is a little tighter. It's not the best dough. It needs to last a little longer, but maybe it will rise now once it's braided. This is our 4, and this is 3, and we have the 6 coming up. It just needs some attention. So once you have 2 challahs, we can actually make the key challah. I have 2 challahs we can showcase on. I won't do the 6. If you are all ready, is everyone ready to keep? Okay. Okay, rolling out my challah. I'm going to try 6 one more time. It really needs to be again these strands, but we'll see. Might work. Okay. And then we'll need a tiny round challah. You know, like those some people call them bulkalas, like little round challahs, individual portions. That's what you'll need if you would like. That's what you need for the bottom of the key for the indents. You could also do 2 mini braids and have them sticking out the bottom. So these are the 2 options. What? Strands, braid. Challah braid, 3-strand braid, a 6-strand braid. There's different types of challahs that you can make. There's a 3-strand challah, there's a 6-strand challah, there is a 4-strand challah. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about all the different strands. This is meant to be as it. I'm going to leave it to rise more, and I'm going to take a little piece of it off and use this for the bottom of our key. Okay, we have these 2 challahs we'll use, okay? Okay, here's my tray. I'm going to put parchment paper on just because I like it more clean. I'm going to use the top of a mason jar lid, put that in the middle of my tray, and take one of my challahs and circle it around the lid. Usually I would do this in a bun pan, but today we'll do it with this. Pretty much look like that. The top key. Now remember, if you don't have something to create this, you can also make 3 small challahs into a triangle shape, and that will kind of look like the top of the
Did you ever use holy
Yeah, I've done it with this recipe. I've done half whole wheat. Not actually, I once did it with half brown whole wheat and half whole wheat and half white whole wheat. So I've done it with whole wheat before. The family, I've done it. Yeah, half white whole wheat and half brown whole wheat. It's a more dense challah, but it works, and it still was very tasty and fluffy. I'm just keeping it safe this week. The second challah we have. The second challah. Yeah, it's brown. It's brown. Whole wheat is usually brown because that's the one more popular, I guess, or the one more available. But I would find white whole wheat also. You can message me after, by the way, if you have any questions. Don't hesitate. Okay. Here is, and I'll give you. You should have my email actually. Okay. Here's the second challah. We're going to use this as the key, the base of the key. Try to connect it somehow. Try to stick it with this. Put it underneath a little bit so it meshes well together. And then the bottom bit is really just to really look like a key. Now either you can make a round over here. It's going to look like that. Just a round. We're going to take a round challah. We're going to roll it out. Then we'll make it into a knot, twist, whatever. And this will be the little shape that goes here. That's one way. The other way is to make 2 little braids or 1 braid that, stick out over here. I'm going to show it to you like this. Braid over here. For now, I'm going to twist it just to show you how to do it. I'm not going to do it now. And it will go here, like that, underneath a little bit. That is our key. And then what we will do afterwards is, hold on, make sure I'm on all the screens. Afterwards, we'll let it rise a little bit more because right now my challah is very heavy and the dough should definitely be a lot lighter. So I'm going to put it back on the counter and let it rise a little more. Regardless, whenever you make challah, if you have the time, it's just a lid. If you have the time, you want to wait. Once the challah is made and it's braided, you want to wait about 20 minutes for it to sort of double in its size. And that really lets in some of the air and makes it more of a fluffy challah. Now, our special key that we have, if you have the key, it's covered in foil. This is where you'll stick it into your challah. Underneath, you'll put into, either you could put it underneath so it bakes under the challah, or you could put it through one of the strands, like I did just there. I just popped it in through one, I opened it a bit and put it in there. It doesn't have to be in the challah, it's just you want to bake it in it. So it's now on the side over here, and you could do that, or you could put it underneath into one of the strands over here. Okay? Left some foil here. Just be careful to remember which challah had the key on. Make a little sign for you to know this is the challah that has a key. This is the one we're going to use for hamotzi tonight. And when we get it, to warn whoever's going to be cutting it to watch out for the key in there. And yeah, the video will probably be available, but you can message me with any questions. Okay, the last thing I'm going to tell you is that we've left your challah now for around 20 minutes. The reason I say around is because I told you the environment makes a difference on the rising of challah. So depending where you are and the type of atmosphere in your house, in terms of weather, that will make a difference in how your dough rises and in how quickly it will rise. So what you'll do afterwards is you'll take an egg, crack an egg. For a whole batch, I would do 2 just to give you that flexibility to use more if you'd like, but 1 should be enough. I like to add a little bit of water to the egg that makes it more runny and makes it a little bit more golden. So you're going to that egg very well, and then if you have an egg brush, you could take the egg brush and make the challah after it's risen. So once you get it, wait a little, let it give it time to breathe and rise. Then you're going to egg it, and once it's egged, you can put whatever toppings you like. Some people actually put a topping on the of a key, meaning they put their poppy seeds or sesame seeds in the shape of a key. You can put sweet toppings, you can put savory, you just leave it without any toppings, really mix it up however you'd like. I like to be creative sometimes. Today I'm not going to be. So I'm going to egg the challah, not to egg that's spilling all over your pan because then you have cooked eggs. You really just want to make sure the entire challah gets egged everywhere so that when you bake it and it bakes, it's going to come out golden. You're going to put it into your oven on 350. After 30 minutes, check on it and see if it needs more time. It needs another 5 minutes. Don't leave it for like 10 minutes just because you're like, hey, we're not done, give it to, don't. Because it could need 7 minutes. 7 minutes would be perfect, 10 would be too much. And the other thing is, right before Shabbat, you can leave the oven on warm, you could put the oven on and turn it off before Shabbat, cover your challah in full, and then put it in the oven for a little bit, not leave the oven, don't put it right away after it's where the oven is too high, but you sort of want just the warmth. Give your challah, so when you're eating it, it will warm, delicious challah, and the mitzvah of challah will permeate your homes and fill our lives with blessings, parnasah, with health, happiness, shalom, and once you have the challah, then the candles, and your home will be filled with the mitzvah of Shabbat. And I bless us all that we should then have a really special and wholesome Shabbat together with ourselves. And if for spending it with our families, and we should just fill our world with so many good deeds to try and change and add light to our world. So Shabbat Shalom, and thanks for joining. If you have any questions, I'm going to leave it running for 2 more minutes. And if you're thinking of questions and you baked it and you're not sure, you can always text me a picture or send me a picture on Instagram or Facebook or email me and ask me what I think of the color and if I think it could be in there longer. This is what I'm used to. I like it. So I'd love to hear how they worked out and how it helped. We write about it afterwards. We can journal and say, the challah, what did it do for how to change my Shabbat? So I'd love to hear from how the challah helped your Shabbat be more enjoyable, be more relaxing, be more special, more spiritual. Please share. I'd love to hear what the challah did for your Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Can you please me and when you freeze some of the yolks?
I would